Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Oh, we are so excited, absolutely delighted to kick off our Bicycle Retailer Excellence Awards webinar series with our P2 consultant. I got to learn how to speak today, Robb Zbierski. So Robb Zbierski has been working with the MBDA as a P2 consultant. He's been joining in our P2 meetings, and he is joining us today to lead us through a webinar titled Shifting from Passion to Excellence. It's all about focus. It's all about getting your brain in the right spot so we can get the results that we're looking for each day. Robb is simply infectious. His energy is dynamic, hilarious. He's engaging. I mean, I could go on and on. He has decades in the bicycle industry as well, which makes him a very unique person. He's worked on multiple sides of the counter. He's been in sales, service, leadership roles, and now a best-selling author. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I'm gonna turn it over to Robb and let him get our minds in the right spot and deliver what he does best for us. Thanks, Robb.
That's awesome. Thanks, Heather. I would let you get going, but we've only got an hour today. So yeah, I'm fired up to be here today. Welcome everyone. Yes, I'm Robb Zbierski, as Heather said, one of the P2 consultants. I'm gonna dive in and share a little bit about my when I'm not in the industry information and help you apply it to the industry. Ultimately, what we're gonna be talking about today is understanding how to better manage your mind and your thoughts in a way that's going to help increase the level of results that you get in every aspect of your life. Right? We're going to really help you understand, hopefully, how your brain, like the way it's hardwired to think, and understand the impact that your thoughts have on the results that you get in every aspect of your life, and help you understand the importance of and the impact of actually taking an active role in your mindset and your thought process, so that you can almost pre-program yourself to be a top retailer, to be one of the most desired destinations in your market for people to come to for bike-related products and services. So before we get started, if you're watching at home, that's awesome. I'm gonna pull up my little bubble here, and a couple things real quick. And Rochelle, if you want to throw this in the chat as well, so people can chime in. If you want a copy of today's slides, if you want a little bit of a, like a repeater course today, if you head over to freedompersonaldevelopment.com/train my brain, plug in your email, we'll give you basically a live version of this training that you can share with your team, with your staff. That way that everybody can get on the same page and understanding. Once you've done that, and actually I would tell you, just like bookmark the page, go back and do it later, right? Because what I want you to do right now is eliminate the distractions. I know hopefully there's people in your shop. That's great. Shut your door, right? Give yourself a little gift. Whatever happens in the next, 56 minutes, I'm pretty sure can get addressed in 57 minutes, right? The end of the world is not happening, I hope. Anyway, turn your phone off, shut your phone off, put on Do Not Disturb. Give yourself this gift of focus and intention to get the most out of our session today. All right, so what I want to talk about is, I'm talking about this concept of understanding you can actually train your brain in order to be more successful in every single thing that you do. The way we do that is you got to understand what's going on in that noodle above your neck, right? It's understanding that your mind creates your life. There's a couple specific mechanisms we're going to talk about that help you really understand what it means to better manage your mind and your thoughts, right? We're going to take a lot of stuff that probably gets a lot of lip service in your world, and we're going to help you understand how to actually implement it in a way that's going to help you level up professionally, to seek out and attract the right type of customers and then serve them as best you can. The reason that's not happening for you, and some of this was in the description, is your brain is hardwired to focus on three big things: negativity, urgency, and complacency. And anytime you've experienced frustration and stress and strain, it's likely as a result of one of these unhelpful default settings. You've let your brain try to run the show without paying attention to it, and it's automatically gravitating towards some version of negativity, urgency, and complacency. And if you're not paying attention to it, this is what's keeping you stuck. So we'll get into that in a bit. And then finally, we're going to wrap up today talking about, okay, great. Like, what does it mean to take a more active role? What are the strategies? What can you be doing on an ongoing basis to get your brain working for you instead of against you? So you're going to walk out of here with a game plan, understanding what your brain needs to start working for you instead of against you. So when I talk about these unhelpful default settings, right, we can talk about customer interactions. We can talk about meetings with your team. We can talk about being frustrated with supply chain or whatnot. That's not really what we're talking about. What I'm really talking about is understanding how not paying attention to your brain and how it's hardwired is actually getting in your way. And it shows up in a lot of everyday things. So just just kind of listen to what I'm sharing. And then if you're watching or in the chat, go ahead and dump this in the chat. I'd love to see some feedback as well. The first thing we're talking about with regards to your unhelpful default settings running the show, a lot of it has to do with your memory. She just did a program with a P2 group, and I asked the question of them, and it's funny, went to bobblehead doll giveaway day. How many of you watching or listening in, you've met someone for the very first time? You know, maybe it's a business setting, maybe it's a social setting, but you meet someone for the very first time. You get their name, you shake their hand, and then literally no sooner is the handshake break as that name has just vanished. It's gone, right? I'm imagining, yeah, it's popping in the chat already. Yeah, me, every 100% every time. Josh, good to see you, by the way. Thanks for being here. Yeah, all the time people are like, oh my God. You know, a lot of people I talk to, they try to creatively extract the name. Like, I'm sorry, before you go any further in the order process of your new bicycle, can I get the legal spelling of your name? You know, it's always like J, and they spell it J, right? It's embarrassing. It can cause for some interesting situations. It's not totally your fault, okay? It's mostly your fault, but this is a direct result of not paying attention to these unhelpful default settings in your brain. Another scenario we see showing up for a lot of people, this one has to do with your learning style, specifically your reading. You know, who on the call or who on the webinar here has ever found themselves reading something, again, maybe for personal, maybe for business, but you get to the bottom of the page at the end of the paragraph and you realize your mind had been elsewhere and you had no idea what you just read, right? You got done, you're like, I don't know those words, like you blanked out, right? Yep, seeing it in the chat again all the time, every single time. Yeah, I talk to people all the time, they don't like to read, they think it's a time suck, right? It's because they're not actually reading, they're just looking at symbols on a page, they're not actually comprehending any of the words. If that sounds like you, I've got news for you. It's not totally your fault. It is mostly your fault. But again, it has to do with the hardwiring, the natural hardwiring of your brain. These two things, names thing, reading thing, you know, you're probably laughing a little bit to yourself, maybe you're laughing with your teammates about this, but the reality is they can cause us some problems. And this is where the learning is going to start today, is there's a bigger issue. And that is that the same hardwiring, the same stuff in your brain that's causing the names thing and the reading thing is also causing you to have that day where you punch in or you show up and you work hard all day to the point when you get to the end of your day, you're exhausted, you're ragged, you got nothing left in the tank for the people or things that mean the most to you. Right? So how many of you have had that day where you work and work and work and work and work to the point when you get to the end of your day, it's about time to punch out and you're just done? Yep, I see it all the time. I got the Zoom over here, by the way, if I keep looking over this with the chat, I'm not in chat. That one's not as much fun. I'll take it a step further. How many of you have had that day where you worked and worked and worked and worked and worked to the point where you're ragged, you got nothing left for the people or the things that mean the most to you? You got no energy to go for a ride. You got no energy to talk to your spouse, your kids. And then you take 5 minutes and you look back on your day and you realize that you accomplished nothing of value. Yeah, that's not good either. So listen, with all these things, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is there's no upper limit to the number of times that you can experience those things, right? There's no upper limit to the number of times you're going to forget someone's name, not remember what you read, or have the day where you don't accomplish anything. That's the bad news. The good news, you're not a slave to your brain. As a human being, you can train it. You can overcome these default settings, and therefore you can get your brain, you can get your business, you can get your relationships, your team, your health, your life to look like, do, and be exactly what you want it to. You can transition from this passion-based business, which I'm not trying to take away passion, but you can actually start to understand how to operate with a lot more excellence. So you can relate to more of the types of customers that you like working with and get better results, AKA bigger paycheck in every single thing that you do. And it's fundamentally what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about first is I want to talk about this concept that your mind creates your life. Okay, so this is, let me switch over here. Got a little, if you're following along at home, you can do that. We'll talk about how your mind creates your life. So this is not a new concept to most of the people I talk to, right? You've heard about this for years and eons and decades in the whole 9 yards, right? It's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's in every piece of scripture ever written, every thought leader, right? Every Tony Robbins, every Dean Graziosi, Jeff Walker, Gary Vee, they've all talked about this in some capacity, right? So I'm not going to sit here and go, this is the key, this new idea. No, that's not new. What is new? There's a couple specific mechanisms by which your mind creates your life. And when you understand how to implement these, when you understand how to leverage these, this is how you can get things to happen a lot faster for you with a lot less effort. So the number one mechanism by which your mind creates your life, you can write your focus determines, if you're taking notes, just jot down that your focus determines your reality. What this means in plain Jane English is what you focus your mind on, what you focus your thoughts on, it'll create the reality you live every single day, be it positive or negative. right? So you can talk about this a ton of different ways. You can do the whole like quantum physics observer effect thing, which we did a really fun example of that earlier in the week. I'm a fan of keeping things simple. So we're going to do a very simple, let's play in Rob's sandbox. I'm sorry, let's play in my sandbox. There's no need for no need to talk about myself in the third person. Come play in my sandbox for a minute, and we're going to do an exercise to help demonstrate what I'm talking about. So if you're playing along at home, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the recording, I want you to put your pen down. I want you to sit up straight. I want you to assume the learning position. All right, if you want to close your eyes, you can. But I want you to listen to a couple of questions. I want you to answer a couple of the questions I'm going to ask you. And what I want you to pay attention to is how you feel, both physically and mentally, emotionally, as you're answering these questions. They're very simple questions, I promise. So the first question is, what I want you to identify a problem somewhere in your business or your life. So I want you to notice that problem, and I want you to see that person. I want you to see that bill. I want you to see that argument. And I just want you to notice how it feels to have that problem exist in your life. Do you feel it physically? Does it weigh on you? I don't know. Okay, that's the end of the first question, first exercise. Let's shift the focus up. Now what I want you to do, hit that reset button, like I said. I want you to identify or notice something in your life that you're genuinely grateful for. Right? So see that relationship, see that new toy, see that vacation, whatever that is that you're genuinely grateful for. I want you to notice how it feels to have that exist in your life. Right? What kind of thoughts do you have going on in your head? How do you feel physically? Now that's the end of the exercise. We're out of the sandbox now. But I told you to pay attention to how you felt, and throw it in the chat. I'd love to see how many of you noticed feeling different as you answer those two questions. All right, so I'm gonna give a second, see it coming in, a couple of them coming in. Yep, totally. Yes, yes, totally. Yeah, heavy, totally. Feeling different for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, perfect. Here's what I hear from most people, and whether you don't want to put into words or can't put into words, I'm betting it sounded and felt something like this. I often hear from people that the first time when you're focusing on that first question, what's some problem in your life? People tend to feel heavy and dark and weighted down and stressed. And I had a woman in a program, she goes, I just feel, ugh. Right? It literally feels, you feel it in your body and in your mind, right? And then the second one, I ask them about that, and they talk about how it feels light and airy and peaceful. It's by the same woman, she goes, I just feel, right? And listen, it has everything to do with the words on the screen. Your focus determines your reality. The reason I do this exercise is I want you to understand that there's a whole kind of activity that took place behind the scenes, unconsciously. I told you to focus on a problem. And what I want you to understand is just noticing that one problem set up a whole chain reaction of thoughts revolving around problems and frustration and anger, blame, and shame and guilt. You actually had a whole chemical reaction take place inside of your body, hormones and neuropeptides and all kinds of sciencey chemically stuff, right? And you literally felt it in your body. It physically manifested itself in how you felt physically just by having that one thought, right? It bred this whole other offshoot of thoughts, and it showed up. On the flip side, when I told you to focus on something you were grateful for, what happens is that sets off a whole totally opposite chain reaction, right? That spurs all kinds of thoughts around enthusiasm and gratitude and love and joy and excitement, right? That whole chemical reaction takes place. The hormones, the neuropeptides, the sciencey, nerdy stuff, right? And it shows up in things like excitement, right? It shows up in things like just you felt different. It shows up in a light, and it shows up in a, right? So the reason we talk about this is a couple of things. Number one, you understand that the exercise was the same exercise. Like if you were to distill the questions down, they were, can you identify something? That's at a root level, the two questions were the same. Can you identify something? And I want you to understand that you had two totally opposite physical responses to essentially the same root question. And nothing externally changed in order for you to have those two totally different experiences. The only thing that changed was your focus, right? You're in the same spot in your shop or at home or wherever you are. It's the same temperature. You've got the same amount of food or drink in you. You're wearing the same clothes. I'm hoping, I don't know. I can't see you. I'm just going to speculate. And nothing externally impacted you in a way that should get that big different physical response. It was all internal. So I want you to think about this, because I'm sure no one walks into your shop with that type A personality who's really determined to get that bike they want now. And you can't control those people. You can only control how you choose to respond to them, right? And your choice, the quality of that choice is going to determine the quality of that conversation and the quality of the result you get. But then I want you to think about that on a bigger level. I want you to think about any interaction you have ever with anyone, right? Maybe it's a customer. Maybe it's a team member. Maybe it's a staff member. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a kid. And you approach that exact same interaction. And you show up with a mindset revolving on frustration, blame, shame, anger, guilt. Versus you show up with enthusiasm, gratitude, love, joy, excitement. Okay, I think you know this already. The person across from you, they pick up on that vibe. And as I'm sure you understand, you get a different result every single time. Okay. When I say that I take concepts that get a lot of lip service and help people implement them, this is what I'm talking about. I have the privilege of working with a lot of really top producing professionals in a multitude of industries, right? Most of I'm talking about the kind of people that when they walk in your shop, you've got the dollar signs in your eyes because you're like, oh, Dr. So-and-so is back to get the $10,000 DI2 butt. You know who I'm talking about, right? The reason that they're able to do that is because the top producers I work with understand that positive mental attitude, it's not touchy-feely, Sherry Carey. It shows up in the bottom line paycheck. And I can apply business experience and business story after business story. This is when life gets easier. When you understand how to implement that, this is how you get out of speeding tickets. This is how you get free food at the restaurants. Like, things just get easier when you're showing up with the right mindset. Your focus determines your reality. Okay, second mechanism by which your mind creates your life, you can write what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. What this means in plain Jane English is the pictures in your mind tend to become the results that show up in your life, right? Athletes get this at a super high level. If anyone just got done watching the Olympics, you saw no shortage of athletes that stood there and like mentally rehearsed the perfect run, the perfect routine, the perfect jump, spin, flip, whatever. I realize I sound really old when I talk like that, but you understand, like, they're visualizing the result. They're visualizing that gold medal run before they even clip into their skis or tighten down the bindings on the boots. They understand that when you can create a clear picture for the result that they want, that ideal outcome, they can actually tap into a bigger results producing part of their brain called the subconscious that will actually steer them in a way that allows them to achieve that result with little to no extra effort. I mean, they got to do their work, right? They got to put their head down. They got to do the spin. But when they can create that clear picture for what they want, the likelihood of them getting it is that much greater. One of my favorite examples of this actually comes from the golf world. I don't know if anybody plays golf watching, but if you don't, just humor me. Jordan Spieth years ago won more money on the PGA Tour than anyone else. He'd won $27 million for hitting that little white ball. And they were interviewing him and they're saying, Jordan, you're playing against the best in the world week in and week out. What are you doing different in order to put together this consistent run of results? And his answer was interesting. He said, you ask me what I'm doing different? Nothing. I'm thinking different. He goes, most people don't understand that golf, it's a skill game, but it's also not a physically demanding sport. I know how to swing a club. We play 18 holes at a time. I don't even carry my bag. It's not a physically demanding sport, but golf is a mentally exhausting game. For every 18 holes I play, I'm playing 36 to 54 in my head because I'm rehearsing the perfect shot, the perfect run, the perfect routine 2 and 3 and 4 times before I even step up to the ball. Most of the other guys don't have the mental fortitude to carry that through an entire 4-day tournament. So you ask me what I'm doing different? The doing that I'm doing is different is than my thinking. So think about this. How can you apply this in your shop? How can you apply this in your day-to-day? Are you mentally rehearsing the outcome you're looking for before you step into the meeting? Or do you do the, I hope this goes well? Do you know the one I'm talking about? The customer walks in and it's not your favorite customer. They're kind of always a pain in the butt. And so you're in this weird mental space. And I say weird, you're in a not a good mental space. You're not excited to see them. You're pretty convinced they're going to come talk to you about a problem or ask for a discount or something that you're not super cool with. And so rather than actually like mentally prep for it, you just go, God, I hope this goes well. And it never really goes well. And if it does go okay, it could always have gone better. Get in the habit of mentally rehearsing and visualizing the result you're looking for. You're looking to have you want more effective meetings with your team, mentally rehearse and visualize how you want that meeting to go. Right? You want to have a better sales presentation for somebody coming in, mentally rehearse and visualize how that conversation is going to go. When you can do that, you see it in your mind, and your mind will help make it happen for you in real life. What you see is what you get. Third mechanism by which your mind creates your life, you want to write, what you see is what you look for. What you see is what you look for. So if what you see is what you get, says that the pictures in your mind tend to become the results that show up in your life. What you see is what you look for basically states that the pictures that show up in your mind, they're the ones you condition yourself to see. They're the ones you've literally trained yourself to be looking for. And I love this one, not because I think it's a good idea or I think it's a cool thing, but I love this one because this is a fact. This is brain science in action, right? This has to do with the part of your brain called the reticular activating system, which is that thing when you decide to buy a new bike or a new car, you don't own it yet, but you see everybody on it or driving it, right? You're like, I'm gonna get a white Grand Cherokee. And then you go to bed and you wake up and all you see is Grand Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, right? It was like Jeep shipped every single one to your market and put them on sale so everybody bought one overnight, right? And that's the thing to understand is that never happens. Your environment never changes. It's your lens that changes. That lens changes based on decisions that you make. And when you make these decisions, it allows you to see something that the day before you literally couldn't see, right? So I make a bold statement earlier in the week. I'm going to remake it now. Your business doesn't change. Your customers don't change. Your market doesn't change. What changes is your perspective on those things, and that determines how easy or difficult it is to do business. Okay? Here's what I mean by that. You sell bicycles and bicycle-related products to human beings, right? If anyone on here is selling to dogs or cats or turtles, please put it in the chat. I want to know, because that seems like a real niche business. I'm fascinated to learn about it. But you're always selling to human beings. And then your business is built around bicycle products and bicycles and bicycle related products and services. That business doesn't change. Your customers don't change. But when you're looking for the problems, what do you think you're going to find? The problems. When you're looking for solutions, what do you think you're going to find? The solutions. This is where, again, like we can talk about cars, we can talk about all kinds of stuff. Those don't make you money. Bikes make you money. People walking in the door makes you money. You know what else makes you money? Your attitude. I'm imagining if I were to give you 3 seconds put in the chat, you would answer with true. But true or false, your attitude plays a big role in your ability to be successful. You know this is true. And it's fascinating. In what I do, I travel. I'm getting back on planes and getting back out in the world. I had not been traveling for a while. And it's fun to be back at the airport just to do this observation. Pay attention to most of the conversations most of the people have most of the time. Listen to people, right? The people that complain a lot, they've always got plenty to complain about, right? It's not a coincidence. You know, it's like you're having a crappy day. The universe goes, hey, here you go. It's an all-you-can-eat crap buffet. Dive in. Would you like a spoon? Right? And then the people who are living the charmed life always have a lot of really great, exciting things happening to them. It's not a coincidence. You see it all the time. If you want to find the bad stuff, you're going to find the bad stuff. If you want to find the good stuff, you're going to find the good stuff. What you see is what you choose to see. Choose to see the good. Choose to look for the good. Because that ties into that whole focus determines your reality thing. All day, every day. So I'm going to take a second. Does anyone have questions on anything we've discussed so far? Anybody have questions on any of the 3 mechanisms by which your mind creates your life? More importantly, how to implement these things into your shop. I'll take a second, looking for any feedback here. Looks like we're rocking and rolling. All right, let's keep going. All right, so now that we understand how your mind creates your life, let's talk about the big, hairy 800-pound gorilla in the room. And that is, yes, your mind creates your life, right? But your brain, it's hardwired to focus on some tendencies that I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. If you're not actively managing these things, if you're not paying attention to these things on a daily basis, it's virtually guaranteed that these are the things that are causing stress and frustration, strife. Like you're going to stay stuck. You're not going to reach you or your business's full potential if you're letting these run the show. So Please understand as I introduce these to you, it's normal to have these. Like we all have these as human beings, right? You're not a born loser. They're survival mechanisms. But you're going to see really like we're not trying to survive in the wilderness. We're trying to thrive in society. So you're going to see really quick how they're holding us back. So the number one unhelpful default setting is your brain tends to overemphasize the negative and it underemphasizes the positive. Your brain is hypersensitive to anything it perceives as a negative input. And it's almost numb to anything it perceives as a positive one. Now, the challenge for us today is that we're surrounded in a culture of negativity. If you think about it, negativity exists everywhere we look. You see negativity in the news, you see negativity on TV, you see negativity in the back order reports, you see negativity in distribution models. Like it shows up everywhere, right? Well, what you see is what you choose to see. And then here's the thing, our brain is looking for it all the time. It's a survival mechanism, right? If you're trying to survive in the wilderness, you got to be aware of the threats. The thing is, like the threats today are not going to kill us like the threats of yesteryear. And here's the challenge is our brain is always looking for those threats. It's always looking like what's coming to get me, what's coming to get me. This is why you're tired at the end of your day. You spend all your best energy just fighting off imaginary threats. And then if it can't find something negative to focus on, it's going to make something up. Congratulations, you've completely screwed yourself. Right? You ever notice how those negative conversations tend to have a domino effect or like waterfall, like snowball effect, and they just keep going deeper and darker? It's not a coincidence, right? It's the common enemy that we all have. Everyone, it's really easy to anchor to a negative conversation. Listen, you got to be on guard against that. In what we do, we don't sell bicycles. We don't sell bicycle-related products and accessories. We help enhance people's cycling experience. We help enhance their quality of life, right? So if that's the end game, if that's the intention, if that's what we want to do, we got to be on guard against this because there's a whole culture of perceived negativity around riding on busy streets. There's a whole perceived negativity around product availability. There's a whole perceived negativity around bro culture. Let's just call a spade a spade. If the only thing you do is focus on being the most positive, enthusiastic, solution-based person most of the time without being annoying, you're going to have a pretty good go of it. The challenge is people are going to think you're weird, but they're going to figure it out. And I love standing in ballrooms, looking at people and going, when you're on fire, people will come for miles to watch you burn. And that's what I mean by attracting the type of customers that you want into your shop. Be that beacon of positivity that they can anchor to and they want and need. So no, because if you don't, your brain will go negative all the time. Second unhelpful default setting is your brain is easily consumed with the urgent at the expense of the important. Brain's easily consumed with the urgent at the expense of the, I'm checking the chat roll here. Yeah, Michael, I love that comment. On paper, implementation seems easy, but in practice, it's super hard. Yep, it's because you got to create better habits. And you got these things in the way, especially this one. This is your brain's tendency to focus on whatever pops up in front of it right here, right now, even if what you're working on is more important or even more fun. I'm betting that there's someone watching this that's looking at their phone right now. I'm betting there's someone watching this that's checking the QBP inventory report right now. And here we are spending an hour together, giving you the tips and the skills and the strategies that are going to make you a more effective professional and boost your productivity and your profitability. But who's playing Wordle? It shows up every single day. Big reason is your brain is naturally hardwired to focus on those things, those bright, shiny objects. And we live in a bright, shiny object world. Twitter exploded years ago because you could only do 140 characters at a time, bright, shiny object, quick, easy, tiny. We have short attention spans as a result of this. So anything that can grab that attention, you're going to go to. Squirrel, right? You're working on an order, you're working on something, it's good, it's a very productive thing, and all of a sudden, like a phone buzzes, squirt, you're off to the races. It happens all day, every day, right? You're in the middle of a great sales presentation with a customer, and somebody else walks in, and you're like, hey, how's it going? You have to address that customer who walked in, but not at the expense of the connection you're trying to make with the current customer you're working with. See, the thing to understand is your brain doesn't understand. This is why this one's scary, is your brain doesn't understand the difference between activity and productivity. And this is why you have that day where you go from crisis to crisis, fighting fires all day. You're on the hamster wheel all day in reactive mode and you're exhausted. And then you take a couple minutes and your brain's like, hey man, You did nothing to support our big picture goals. You did nothing to work towards our goals. You did nothing to work towards the ideal business we're trying to run here. What gives? And your brain just, it's addicted to distraction. And you got to be on guard against that, because this one's scary. The reasons this one's scary is because a lot of the owners I'm talking to, a lot of shop owners, you've got teams that are being paid on an hourly basis. Well, every time you or your team member gets distracted, that thing takes a split second to get you distracted. On average, it takes 15 to 23 minutes to get back on track. So what that means is every time you or your team is distracted, that's a 30% reduction in profitability. How many times an hour are you letting yourself get distracted? 20 minutes is a third of an hour. So let's put some real numbers to this. Let's say you can adjust the numbers as needed. I'm going to use simple numbers for the sake of conversation. Let's say you're $100,000, you're a $100,000 guy or gal. You know what it takes to make 100K. Well, what that means is every time you let yourself be distracted, you can cut that to 70K. Second distraction, 49K. 2 seconds of distraction is literally the equivalent of a 50% pay cut, which in this day and age, if you're going from 100K to 50K, you're going to have a rough go of it. Be on guard against this one. Eliminate. That's why I told you at the beginning, try to eliminate any distractions you possibly can, because your brain will run away with it. Third unhelpful default setting is your brain craves safety over progress. Your brain craves safety over progress. Diane, I love when great minds think alike. This is your brain's natural tendency to go after the low-hanging fruit, path of least resistance. Doesn't have to think, doesn't have to do. This is comfort zones. Okay, if you've got copies of my book or my business partner's book, you've probably seen the little infographic with a tiny little circle here says your comfort zone, and there's a big giant circle over here says where the magic happens. Right? Comfort zones serve a purpose. If you're in recovery, comfort zone's a great place to be. When you're trying to grow and thrive in business and society, they're going to hold you back. Right? No growth. No magic happens in the comfort zone. But here's the thing to understand. Inherently, we want to grow, right? We want to grow our business. We want to grow our top line revenue. We want to grow our profitability. We want to grow our physical fitness. We want to grow our relationships with our family, with our community. We want to grow these things. Well, in order to grow, you're often going to have to do something that's risky or uncomfortable, probably both, right? And watch this. When given the choice between doing something that's risky and uncomfortable, allows for growth, versus what you know is safe but keeps you stuck, by default, your brain chooses safe, and stuck is the byproduct. You don't choose to make the same amount of money every single year. You don't choose to come in just shy of goal every single quarter. You don't choose to lose the same 20 pounds over and over and over again. You don't choose to keep hiring the guy that just didn't work out again. You choose what you know is safe, and you stay stuck as a byproduct. That's the thing to understand. If you're not paying attention to this, your brain will, when given the choice between doing something and doing nothing, your brain will always choose doing nothing. And where in the P&L is the line item for doing nothing? It doesn't exist because it does not impact your profitability in a positive way. So, questions on those unhelpful default settings? See, scroll. Love it, love it, love it. We got some good stuff. Would anyone like to know how to fix these things? Just out of curiosity. Go ahead and throw that in. Yes, give me a yes or a no. We're coming. We're doing great. Yeah. Yes. Look at it. Did I get it? Is the caps lock on, or are you just that excited? No, I'm just joking. So listen, we kind of have to. Okay, you get that, right? Like, can you imagine? Rochelle and Heather, if you're watching, can you imagine if this was the end of the program? All right, hey folks, here's the deal. I'm Rob. Your mind creates your life. Your mind is totally screwing you. Now go get them in the end of Q1 and Q2. Right? That would not be an effective. that would not be a good presentation. We said good news, bad news. We said the bad news is we all carry this conditioning, and I'm curious. Oh, not effective. You are correct. How many of you? Okay, it's Friday. You got a week of research. Look back on your week. How many of you? And throw this in the chat and be honest with yourself and with me. How many of you can identify at least 3 or 4 scenarios in the last 4 or 5 days where at least one and maybe all of these unhelpful default settings was totally running the show for you. Yeah, who's had it this week already? Yeah. The news is distracting. Oh, you think? Yeah, the news is a little distracting this week. I'm with you. Yeah. So listen, you're not a slave to your brain. As a human being, there's things you can do and be paying attention to on an ongoing basis that will get your brain working for you instead of against you. So here's what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the high level overview of what these are. Right? You're walking out here with the goods. Today is not an in-depth training on all of these, right? You'll see very soon. We just don't, in the interest of time, we can't get into a super deep dive. But if this is of intrigue to you, if you can see where having a better handle on what's going on in that noodle above your neck and taking a more active role, you can see where that's going to benefit you and your business. I'll show you a really quick and easy way to go and place to go after this. So what to do about this? Number one thing your brain needs to work for you instead of against you is you got to heighten your awareness of what's most important to you. Heighten your awareness of what is most important to you. So, okay, this is a perfect example of why we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. I can't stand here in this little tiny bubble on the screen and tell you what's important to you, right? I don't know. You got some work to do, right? I can't be like, Josh, you got to work on this. Larry, this is going to be super important to you. Rochelle, Heather, like you got to do this. You know, who else on here? Brumble, if you're not paying, like, I don't know. You got some work to do, but this isn't things like, oh, my house, my car, my kids, my trust fund. No, these are big picture things. These are things like your core values. What do you stand for as a human being? What are the pillars that your business or your shop are built upon? What do you believe in? What are your non-negotiables? How do you want people to talk about you when you die? And are you operating your business and your life in alignment with these things? Or are you trying to fake it till you make it? You ain't gonna make it. What's your purpose? Why are you here? Not why are you here on this webinar, but like, why are you here? One of those good voice of God talks. Like, who are you here to serve and how are you best to serve them? For extra credit, answer this question after this seminar. Walking into my shop, working with me, working with us is unlike working with any other bike shop in the country because I'm filling that blank. And it says healthy, ride bikes, or help people, just tear that one up because it's not original. What do you do different and better than anyone else in the world that does what you do? What were you put on this earth to do? What purpose do you serve? What's your vision? What do you want? Where do you want to go? Unmotivational speaker line of the day. Most people don't get what they want out of life because most people don't know what they want to get out of life. Okay? Have a clear picture for what it is you want. What is the ideal business you want to be running? Who's the ideal customer you want to be working with? Get a clear picture for that and keep that top of mind. Tap into that big, powerful results producing part of your brain to get it going to work on chasing those down for you. Number one thing you need is a heightened awareness of what's most important to you. Sometimes this is goals. Sometimes this is faith and spirituality. This is beliefs. It's stuff that you probably know this, except it lives right back here in the back of your mind. So you got to put systems in place for moving on the back of your mind, in front of your mind. When you do this, you make better decisions faster and you have a lot more energy in every single thing that you do. That's a fact. Number two is you got to develop goals that energize you. You got to create energizing goals. Just wrapped up a couple workshops with folks this week, identifying the difference between energizing goals and paralyzing goals. I'm imagining some of you have had paralyzing goals. Some of you have had your suppliers come to you and say, what are you going to do? What are you going to buy? That's not a goal, that's a quota. Hey, we need you to do this minimum in order to qualify for this tier. And that's not a goal, that's a quota. You get that. What is your personal goal? What is your business's goal? And are you crafting it in a way that is brain friendly and gets that big, powerful results producing part of your brain to work for you to achieve it, right? The other reason this is important, we talked about the distractibility, the squirrel and all that stuff. I love some of these comments coming in, Larry. God, Larry, I love it. The reason this is important, we talk about your brain always wants to be distracted all the time. And a properly structured, energizing goal is the only thing that takes you from this to, I want this, I want to make it happen, let's make it happen right now. A properly structured, energizing goal, the only thing that does that for you. You've got to create goals that energize you. This is one of the biggest things that we do with our clients is helping them understand what it means to craft that goal and then have a heightened awareness for it. Number three is you got to design a schedule that gives you space. Create a schedule that gives you space. This is also known as the lie of time management. Time can't be managed because time can't be fired. What can be managed is what you choose to do with your time. We all have 168 hours in our week. Some people get a ton done. I'm impressed. Some people get nothing done. I'm actually impressed with that as well. But you know the value of your time. You know the value of your employees' time. Do you, or have you crafted and created a space that gives you the time and the space you need? There's a schedule that gives you the space you need to get your job done when you need to get done, and as important, the space you need to rest and recharge the battery. We live and work in an amazing industry. We have access to our passion every single day. And then I'm always amazed at how many people I talk to in the industry that wish they could ride more. I used to be that guy. When I worked at the supplier level, I never rode my bike less than when I worked for the suppliers. It was amazing. I also didn't know the time management skills I have now. Got to create that schedule that gives you space to rest and recharge the battery, because your customers know when you show up with a half a charge. Your family members know when you show up at half a charge. Get that puppy charged up. Number 4, you got to develop an ongoing system for feeding your mind. An ongoing system for feeding your mind. Webinar like this, super awesome. I hope. I'm having a blast. It's not about me. But this is not an ongoing system for feeding your mind. You have to have an ongoing, consistent approach to feeding good stuff in your mind, because you know negativity, urgency, and complacency, that's going to grow on its own. It's like a cornfield, right? You plant corn in the field, corn grows in the field, but weeds also grow. And if you don't mitigate the weeds, they're going to grow and choke out the corn, and you're not going to get a yield. You're not going to be profitable. Your brain works the same way. You plant the positivity, you plant the goals, you plant the time management, but all those other unhelpful default settings grow on their own. And if you're not actively managing those, that's what's keeping you stuck. So here's the quick fix. Here's the quick prescription. Number 1, on a daily basis, be reading or listening to something positive, inspirational, motivational, or educational. I recommend a minimum of 30 minutes every day. If you have a 15-minute or more ride or drive to your shop, congratulations, you have 30 minutes of Windshield University. Number 2 is you want to get around positive, like-minded people and learn. So if that's an accountability group or a mastermind group or a book club, do that. Get around positive, like-minded people that you can share wins with and you can learn from. Do that on a weekly basis. And then quarterly, you got to take a day off. You got to take a day for you to rest and recharge the battery. Now, not sitting on the couch eating Haagen-Dazs and watching Days of Our Lives reruns. No. I'm talking about spending a day going for a ride, going for a run, getting reconnected with your core values, getting reconnected with your goals and your vision, making sure that you're tracking and you're on the way to where you want to go. Take that day for renewal. About every 90 days, you need to make that happen. Questions on anything? Monday Mingle. Josh, this is why I'm part of Monday Mingle. You got it, man. That's exactly right. All right. Throw any questions in the chat. I'm going to keep going just to make sure that we got time now and as we go. So if I see them pop up, I'll answer them. But we put this together as a foundation program, right? This shifting from passion to excellence. I hope you all have a good understanding of where your brain may be holding you back. I hope you understand the impact that managing your mind and your thoughts has on the bottom line paycheck. And I hope you understand, like it was in there. It seems easy on paper, but implementing in real life, it's hard. I know because you're a human being, just like I'm a human being. And as human beings, we have these unhelpful default settings that are going to keep us stuck. The good news is we've put together, in partnership with the NBADA, I've put together some ongoing resources that are designed to take a lot of the lessons you learned today in this foundation and really build upon them to help you start getting your brain working for you on an ongoing, consistent basis. We've done this in a very easy way, a very fun way, and I'll be honest with you, a very, very accessible way. So here's what some ongoing resources look like. And Rochelle, if you want to throw this in the chat as well, that'd be great. Number 1 is copies of both of our best-selling books, Train Your Brain for Success and Master Your Mind. This is a book written by my business partner, Roger Sipe. It's basically an owner's manual for your brain, right? We put this reference in the invite. Every product you sell comes with an owner's manual. Your brain never did. So if you want to understand how your brain is hardwired, you understand what you can do, what tips and tools you can use to get your brain to work for you instead of against you, that's this bad boy. It's not a science book. It's not an activities book. It is a how-to book. The other book, I'm a little biased. I think it's awesome. It's Master Your Mind, Counterintuitive Strategies to Refocus and Re-Energize Your Runaway Brain. This book was written for the express purpose of helping you understand how to notice and mitigate the squirrel phenomenon from happening, right? It's not a silver bullet. I don't make claims like that. But this book is chock full of strategies, tactics, and case studies of people who have learned how to actually slow down and how they've subsequently allowed their results to accelerate towards them. Like they're getting better results faster with way less effort using the tips and skills that are in this yellow book. So those books are $49. They each come with supplemental audio programs. So you're getting an audio version of Train Your Brain for Success, and you're going to get an audio supplemental 10 tips for supercharging your productivity with Master Your Mind. You were looking for that daily reading and audio program. That's a perfect way to do that. Another component is the Train Your Brain for Success Blueprint video coaching. What we've done is we've taken and curated. We do a lot of one-on-one coaching. My primary business is one-on-one coaching with business professionals, and we're creating life-changing, transformational change for these people. Like I'm talking about people that are cashing the biggest checks of their career, taking 8 weeks of vacation, and running thriving teams that allow them to leave the shop or leave the office and know that it's still going to run, right? What we've done is we've taken, curated our 12 most popular, most impactful one-on-one coaching milestone lessons, and we put them in a self-guided, home-based, on-demand coaching series. So what that means is every week you get access to a new video lesson, and it's lessons on how to talk to yourself, how to talk to your clients, how to create that schedule that gives you space, how to create energizing goals, how to remember names, and the most popular one, how to take a day off. We literally teach you how to get in the right mindset to effectively take a day off, rest, and recharge the battery. That's a $599 coaching program. You get lifetime access and one-on-one support. So what that means is if, as you're going through the program, you don't understand how to implement that in your business, your life, you have access to me via email. You send me an email and I will personally walk you through understanding how to implement that lesson to ensure that you're using it and seeing positive transformational change out of the lesson. Then you get a ticket to an implementation masterclass. What this is, this is a day with me, right? We basically do it to deeper dive into everything we talked about today. So this is a full day live virtual event that we lead on a quarterly basis, right? So we've got one coming up end of March, early April, where it's a day to spend time with a group of like-minded people, receive instruction, and really start to workshop and put in plan a place for implementing all the stuff that you've learned about, right? So you're going to do a deeper dive on understanding the power of your subconscious and how to actually pre-program your mind for almost automatic results. I'm going to teach you a 7-step process for laying out your calendar where most people find 10 extra hours every week that they didn't even know they had, right? You're going to have an understanding of how positivity and focus and intention, all those words that get a lot of lip service, really understand why it's important to implement those. And more importantly, give you super easy to start ways to implement it and that are going to get you results right away. My biggest piece of feedback I get from people is, I'm getting better results today as a result of being a part of your workshop yesterday. So if this last 49 minutes has been helpful to you, come spend a day with me. I'm going to change your life. Okay. Part of that is you get a one-on-one follow-up strategy session with me as a $600 value. That's included in the implementation workshop. We've also got to Get Your Head on Straight ebook, which is, I talked about that daily, weekly, quarterly quick fix. This is an ebook that lays out all kinds of different options for you to put together that ongoing system for feeding your mind. That's a $29 book. We've got the Fast Guide to Focus. If anyone struggles with time management, this is our guide that's designed to help you understand how to restructure how you go about time management. Take a strategic approach instead of just trying to shove you know what on your calendar. We're going to teach you how to actually put the right energy and focus on the right things to help ensure that you're getting the best results possible. It's a full guide on how to basically lay out your calendar to find those 10 extra weeks and run your life instead of your life running you. That's a $49 value. And then we've got the Daily Big Six workbook. This is a tool that one of my clients recently started using, and she put $10,000 of income in her pocket in 7 days. This one tool increased her focus and her productivity to the degree of $10,000, not revenue. Her commissions were $10,000 after using this one tool for a week. And it's a prioritization tool, it's a focus management tool, it's an accountability tool. So if you look at all this together, it's a little over $3,000. It's basically, what is that, like a really nice Ultegra equipped road bike, if you can get them, right? That's basically what we're looking at here. Because of my partnership with the NVDA, we want to make sure that you're getting as much value out of this as I am. So what that means is you don't need to invest $3,000 to get the value out of this whole package. What that means is if you'd like to enroll, Rochelle put the link in the chat form. I'm going to put up as well. It's just $497. So go ahead, Rochelle, if you want to drop that link in there, if you guys want to go back up into the chat, I'll also put it up here. If you use this link, it is case sensitive. So it's a bit.ly link, 3 capital J, capital P, lower W. That is a 0 and a lowercase k. That'll take you to the enrollment form. What we'll do is you're going to get your books. We'll get your books out in the mail to you in the next seven days or so. You'll get access to your online training as early as today, maybe even tomorrow. And then we'll get you on the reminders list for that next upcoming implementation workshop. So if you have questions on that, I'm going to stick around. Happy to answer those. Yes, Larry, the audio version is in there. Thank you, Rochelle, for putting that link in. Go ahead and take that link and check that out. Finally, please stay connected. You guys, you got access to me via the P2 program is available via the NBDA site. If you'd like to connect with me personally or professionally, here's all my contact information. There's my email. If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook, do that. That's my office number as well. I welcome the opportunity to support you to help make sure that you're on the path to getting the most out of this business. I mean, this is an amazing industry we work in. It is a passion pursuit industry. We are highly passionate about everything we do. The challenge is, are you using passion as a crutch instead of excellence? Where can you make one small, tiny change in your approach in excellence? And what's the ripple effect that that's going to have on your business, not just today, but tomorrow and into the future? So I welcome you to enroll. Please play in my sandbox. We'll teach you some really great stuff, and we're probably gonna have a blast along the way. In the meantime, I'll definitely grab that training from the beginning. I'm gonna stick out one-on-one. Larry, you are welcome. It's always wonderful to spend an hour with you. You're awesome. And like I said, that's kind of it for today. But like I said, feel free to throw in the chat. I don't know what the audio Q&A looks like, if anyone can chime in, but any questions, throw them in the chat, and I will look forward to how cheesy is. I look forward to seeing you out on the trail. No, I'm not going to say that, but connect with me. I would love to help you get where you want to go.
And Rob is
Thank
on
you,
our
Heather,
Monday
and thank
Mingle
you,
a lot of
Rochelle.
the time.
I'm sorry, say that again.
And Rob, you're on our Monday Mingle a lot. So if people want to connect with you that way. Yeah,
I try to be, yeah. I was on a plane this week.
Yeah, but we love seeing you there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me get this guy dialed back in.
Oh, there's a question. Were 2 books mentioned?
Yes. There's 2 books that are included in the package. One is Train Your Brain for Success by Roger Sipe. That's my business partner, one of my best friends in the world. The other book is Master Your Mind. This one I co-authored with Roger. If you get to know me, fun story. I finished this book sitting at a bar in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. It's a really fun story. But yeah, these are the 2 books that are included in the package, as well as supplemental audio as well. Yep. What other questions can I answer? How can I? Yep, you got it. Hokey Spokes. Or just new, I don't know. I like Hokey Spokes. I'm gonna call you Hokey Spokes.
All right, perfect. That looks like all the questions. Thank you, Rob.
Right.
If anyone has any questions who's watching the recording, your contact info was up earlier, or they can contact info@nbda.com and we'll send it on.
Sounds good. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.